Good afternoon. Today we're going to talk about potato maintenance and tomato maintenance.
Welcome to Doug's Urban Garden.
As you can see, we have our potatoes in 15-gallon pots. And as you can see, we got a lot of potatoes. So we're hoping to have a really bountiful harvest. But to make sure we have a harvest, there's a few things we got to look at. One, as your potatoes vines start to mature, you may get flowers. Now, they look beautiful. They can come in white, pink, or purple, but you don't want them. Now, why is that? Because of two reasons. One, the potato flower will make a flower, and then it goes to a seed head. The seeds are toxic, so keep animals and children away from them. The seed will be about the size of an English pea when it's fully developed. But here's the downside. When it does flower, it tells you that you are making tubers, you're making potatoes underground. That's a good indication. The downside is when a plant makes a flower to make a seed head, the energy from the roots are not going down to make potatoes. It's going up to make the flower and the seed head. So what are we going to do? We want that energy down to make nice big potatoes. So we just take and pinch them off. Now, as you can see, this plant here, the potatoes, the seed head has died and caused the plant to lose the energy that it needs to make potatoes. I left this one go for a while so I could show you this. So we're just going to pinch this off, and hopefully the plant will rejuvenate itself and concentrate on making potatoes. Here's another one. See, the flower has died back, so it's getting ready to make a seed head. So we're just going to pinch those off. You can use a pair of scissors, a knife. I just use my fingers, pinch them off. And that's it. That's all you have to do. Now, it's going to send the energy that it was using to make a seed head and seeds, it's going to send back down to make more and bigger potatoes. Here's another one starting to form. So you just want to maintain your potatoes. Here's one right here. You can see this seed head, this flower is starting to flower. So you just pinch that off. You have to go through your potatoes from time to time and do this maintenance. Now, what is the other maintenance? The other maintenance, as we talked about when we planted the potatoes, is fertilization. What kind of fertilizer? Okay, we're going to back up a little bit. When these potato vines were first only about 4 or 5 inches tall, we used a granular fertilizer. This is 10-10-10, all-purpose, good fertilizer, and it has a 3-month fertilization period. It will fertilize slowly over a 3-month period. So we put that in first. Now, as the potato vine starts to grow, and you need potassium. So after we put the 10-10-10 in, about a week later, we rejuvenated with potassium with 217 bone meal, which is very high in potassium, and that's what potatoes like, potassium. Okay, so just the other day, we fertilized with an organic fertilizer, 769. Now, the organic fertilizer you can put on your crops. We put on the potatoes about twice, maybe 3 times during the growing season. This is made out of feather meal, bone meal, and soybean meal. And so it's a quick release. You can refertilize every 14 days. And it's like all fertilizer, it's just real simple. Just take it, shake a little bit in your pots, and then water it in. And we're going to do all of all of the pots, all 65 or 70. And it's going to take a while, so we're not going to show the whole video on that. But then we're going to water it in. So that's pretty much for the potatoes. Now, these potatoes have been in since the first and second week of February, and they have about 5, maybe 6 weeks. We'll be harvesting in probably the middle to late June. How do you know when to start harvesting your potatoes? The vines will start dying back. This one started dying back a little bit because of the flower. Hopefully it'll come back. Now, the vines will start dying back. When they start dying back and the leaves start turning brown, you need to stop watering. How much water do potatoes need? During the growing season, they need about 1 inch a week. The best thing to do is to put your finger in the dirt, just put your finger in the dirt, move the mulch, and see how damp the soil is. If the soil clumps up, you're good. You may need to water twice a week, depending. Here in El Paso, it gets extremely hot. We're right now in the middle to end of May, and we're at the low 90s. Now, as I said earlier, potatoes, tuber formation stops and slows down when the temperature gets above 95 degrees. So we're right there at that midway point. We're hoping that it'll stay in the low 90s, mid 90s at the worst, for another 5-6 weeks. Also, the soil temperature. Put a thermometer in the soil today, and we're right at about 82, 84 degrees. At 85 and above, our tuber formation is going to slow down and stop. So these are all things you have to maintain, you have to test, and make adjustments. We put the leaves on top. Good mulch keeps the soil moist and helps to take and keep the soil cool. So let's move over here to some tomatoes. You know, we planted the tomatoes in the box over here several weeks ago. Well, back in the end of November, and as you can see, they have really started to grow. Now, as I've said earlier, you can put each tomato in a tomato cage, a wire mesh tomato cage. They cost you around anywhere between $6 to $8, $9, depending on what size and whether you get a nice painted one or just galvanized steel. I got 40 tomatoes here. Take 40 times $9 and I'm broke. So what do? I do like the farmers do. As you can see, just take a piece of string. This is garden string, and it comes in multiple colors. And just take and tie them up like I've done. I'm going to tie some more, but I'm going to show you how to do this right over here. Like I said, this is just garden string. I tie it around one end of the stake. Very simple, very easy to do. And just take and run it down between the rows of tomatoes. And what this is going to do, it's going to make it easier for you to fertilize and water your tomatoes and look for tomatoes. And you just want to bunch them up. Just pull it a little bit. You got to be careful you don't take and cut your vines. And you want to be careful you don't knock off any blooms or any tomatoes that are starting. Once you got to wrap it around a couple of times, take out the old trusty utility knife. Now, if you got children doing this, I suggest scissors instead of a knife to make sure children don't cut themselves. And you're off to the clinic for a couple of stitches. And there you go. Now we can take and put the organic fertilizer in the bed. Down this row, we can reach in there, sprinkle some there, and sprinkle. And then we can wet it down. Now, if you come in closer, because we tied them up, I can find it again. We've got some tomatoes starting to form right over here. If you bring the camera in close, as you can see, the tomatoes are starting to form, and that's why we tie it up so you can reach in there and get tomatoes. There's some more tomatoes starting down here, nice and green. I saw a red one this morning, but that's one of the problems that you have when you have this many plants. That's why you want to tie them up, keep them where you can get to them. But we have tomatoes forming, we have blooms, we have sets. And like I said, if you get blooms when they fall off and don't make your little sets, then what you need is calcium, and you can get that by putting bone meal in the soil and water it in. Now, the other thing you want to do, and this is part of the maintenance besides tying everything up, you want to look for suckers. We talked about suckers in an earlier video. Suckers will suck nutrients from your tomatoes that should be going to make tomatoes, and what you want to do is pull those off. And see right here, this is a sucker starting to form. So what we're going to do is we're just going to pinch that off, throw it down, and that's what you're looking for. You're looking for suckers. You want to do this, look for suckers about once a week. They'll start forming as the plants start growing up. You'll start to see the suckers forming out from, like I showed you, you have your main stem, you have your branches off, and the suckers will form right there in that V. That's pretty much what we can see. Here's another one. Here's a good example. You have your main stem, you have your branch coming off. Right there in that V is a sucker. It'll make you a beautiful plant, but it will suck the nutrients out of the plant and retard your tomato manufacturing or your tomato growth. All right. So that's it on tomato maintenance. We're going to put the organic fertilizer on the bed. We're going to water it down. And as you can see, we got a lot of blooms. Tomatoes are forming. We're in good shape. Here's another sucker right here. This is a big one. I missed this one. See this one right here? This is what I'm talking about. This is going to add to the total greenness, the bushiness of your tomato, but it's not going to make a tomato. So just pinch that off. One other thing you need to do for your tomato protection from the birds is a bird net. This will keep the birds out of your tomatoes because they love the tomatoes. So this bird netting is 14 by 14, big enough to cover all my tomatoes. And my son, once I get this thing straightened out, It's going to help put the bird netting on. The problem is getting the thing apart. Okay. I think we got it. Now this is going to help keep the birds from eating your nice ripe tomatoes. For some reason, they don't like the green tomatoes. They like the nice ripe ones. And just make sure that it covers everything. Okay, I think we got it. And we got both sides covered. The ends. There. So you put a bird net over your tomatoes, keep the birds out so you can harvest them so the birds don't eat all your tomatoes. Now we're going to have, hopefully, a good harvest of potatoes and tomatoes. And what are we going to do with all these? Well, a good thing would be to have a nice big barbecue. Have some smoked spare ribs, a brisket, a pork shoulder. How do you do that? Well, go online on YouTube and look up Smoking Ass Barbecue. This gentleman has got fantastic ways to smoke meat to go with your potatoes and your tomatoes, and he's got a little sidekick called Buckshot. So that's it today from Doug's Urban Garden, except one little character we got here. Sammy, please leave the potatoes and the tomato harvesting and eating to me.
Thanks for coming by, and happy gardening!